One word that I would use to describe the impact of the pandemic on the Troy service industry, and especially in regards to me personally, I would say is responsibility. As a member of the Troy service community, I think the key word in that is community, and always feeling that bringing everyone together is in my blood, and also just kind of a true part of why I do what I do, and the responsibility of keeping everyone thinking that things were going to be okay, and keeping everyone feeling happy and as taken care of as possible, especially when everything was in question, was definitely very apparent. And so the responsibility of carrying through that community role, I suppose, was definitely the biggest part of my take from the pandemic's impact.
Priorities. I think the word priorities was given a lot more meaning and redefinition, and we've been stripped away of all of the really, I guess, what people see to be extravagant things about the restaurant industry, and when push came to shove, we realized that there were a lot of cracks and problems in the industry as a whole that came to light because of the pandemic. Does that mean those cracks never existed? Absolutely not. They were there. But we were forced to look at our priorities, look at what's important. You know, is it profits? Is it people? Is it the food, the quality, customers? Not to say that you can't prioritize all without, you know, one or over the all, but at the same time, I think for us, we had to make a lot of sacrifices based on what we felt to be our priorities. And so we decided our staff was our first and foremost priority. That meant listening, that meant hearing what their needs were, what their budgets look like. And the thing is, each person is so different as well as the circumstances surrounding their situation. And so it took us evaluating that, looking at what each person's different priorities were, and being able to address it as a community together.
So I'll go with unexpected. It was something that caught me out of guard, and especially to me, I'm a preemie mom. So when my kid was out of the hospital, I had to take care of him because he had some medical issues. So then COVID happens, and I'm petrified. And I don't know what to do, when I was really, really scared. Not only for me, but for my son. So that's unexpected.
My one word would be somnambulant, which means, I use that because it seems like everybody sort of went into hibernation and came out some time later, but for a while everything just sort of shut down and everybody went home.
Devastation. My work life increased exponentially. I've never had to work more hard in my entire life, because basically my whole entire staff quit in one day's notice. Everybody got terrified, and they all fed off of each other's fear, and they all walked out. And so I pretty much, started packing up my things. I started sweeping and putting things away, and I sat down in the chair and just kind of put my hand on my forehead, and I just cried quietly to myself, because I realized that my whole dream just got crushed by a pandemic after just opening up my own business for 1 year. So as I was packing up, I just thought to myself, I'm like, I'm not going down. I'm not gonna close this place down. I'm gonna figure it out, and I'm gonna try to run a one-man show. And so basically what I had to do was just wake up a lot earlier and go home a lot later, just to keep the place afloat. I have 2 boys at home to take care of, and that was like my driving force. And so what I had to do was I had to wake up at 4 in the morning, and I would sneak out of the house, go prep until 6 in the morning, and then I'd rush home, wake up my boys, do their morning routine, make breakfast, pack their lunches, and then send them off to school by 7:30. And then I'd rush to the gym, work out for like an hour, get home by like 9, go back to the restaurant, continue prepping, open up by 11. And then I'd work, pick my boys up at 2. And then I gave them like 2 hours of my day just to play. And then I'm like, hey boys, daddy's gotta work. And then so I worked, and basically at the end of the night after service, I would just have to stick around and do all the dishes, and then go home and pass out and wake up and do it all over again every single day. And so it was a crazy time in my life, but I managed to keep the business afloat, and I'm very fortunate that I actually have the skills to run a whole business by myself. In terms of my personal life, that was pretty much gone. All I had was just work and my kids, and I just embraced that as the new reality. And I just had to tell myself, I'm like, we're gonna keep moving forward and teach my kids that we don't give up, no matter what situation we're put in.
Once the pandemic hit, I went from being queen of the dining room, as I would jokingly refer to myself as, to being a prep cook, to being a delivery driver, to being a dishwasher. And it kind of went from being the person who polished everything over and spoke with all of the people to being the person on the ground making sure everything was running smoothly. When the pandemic first hit, we closed the restaurants down, and Zoe and I worked closely together to work on a catering project for NISO, which is the group that oversees the electrical grid. It was just the 2 of us doing 7 meals a week for 60-something people, fluctuating, and I truthfully went from greeting people at the door and taking orders and running cocktails and putting on weddings to washing vegetables and chopping onions and putting food in boxes and packing them up and delivering them to these people who could not leave their office or building of work. So it was a drastic change, and even from there, it continued to evolve because we then had to make a decision. Are we gonna keep doing takeout the way we've been doing it? Are we going to change models? So then it kind of turned into this logistics and planning role where we were constantly just bouncing ideas off of one another, trying to figure out what the best course of action was. So a lot of thinking was involved. But I think that the biggest change was definitely going from being so involved in communicating with the people to really only communicating with 2 to 5 other people in regards to work. That definitely was the biggest impact for me. I also got in that a chance to see all of the other different pieces of the restaurant that I, of course, had been aware of and familiar with, or so I thought, but I gained a great sense of additional understanding for all of that. And then in regards to my personal life, I went from getting home really late and being, kind of tired but also still fired up from the night of service to coming home every night at 8, exhausted in a very different way. Instead of checking out new restaurants and having friends over for dinner, which is what I usually do in my free time for fun because I love entertaining and I love people and I love food, it was a lot of, okay, how do I cook for 2 instead? So there was a lot of change in that as well. And while I was spending more time at home, it was different than any time at home that I had really experienced ever in my life otherwise.
upon the eastern shore. Sail at dawn to the Iceland port. The snow it falls all around. 200 years have crumbled down. The lake is new, the day would come. The tyrant's fear through the land. No one could have ever feel the things that we hold so dear. Lights on, lights on. Before our caravan will see. I know I took too long, the timing's been all wrong. We'll see. I thought it was the end, but I must go again. We'll see. Now I don't know what
One thing I personally really miss about prior to the pandemic was this whole idea and concept of like meeting new people like freely. and of course there's the whole like bustling and like, you know, busy environment that we miss of having, you know, people jostling next to each other, and we used to hold a night market on a weekly basis on Thursday nights at the old cab stand lot, and it was supposed to emulate kind of like Asian style night markets where a big part of the ambiance and the atmosphere is the closeness, like physical proximity to people, like waiting in line, like being like, you know, filed in like sardines. Like obviously you can't have that anymore, and even now, you know, with vaccines rolling out, people are wary of and just used to standing, like having some social distancing space. So I really miss that, and it's something about like even being next to a stranger, even though like there's the positive side of getting closer to people that you do know, but I think there's a lot of like missed opportunities from being fearful or feeling like you're being irresponsible or unsafe by approaching someone who's new, and just like obvious, like, you know, hugs, handshakes. I'm a big like handshake kind of gal when I meet someone new, and so it's kind of like this weird like, what do I do with my fingers now?
I think before COVID, the food industry, the restaurants, the social part, I think we were really permissive. There was no sense of, you know, you cannot hug people, but when you go to a restaurant and you see your regulars and you're like, hey, what's up? And it's more like, you know, that amicable vibe. And I think that changed, and I kind of missed that.
Honestly, the biggest thing I missed was just going out and sitting in a bar and socializing with people. That was like my happy place, you know, after like a long day of work. Is like, that's just what I look forward to, just like being around people and talking, you know. I had no idea how much we rely on like social interaction. You know, I got hit with a huge bout of depression, and I was like, why do I feel like this? You know, it's like 99% of the time I'm really happy and positive and all that, but like I found myself walking around with like slouching and stuff. I'm like, oh my God, this is not me. You know, and then talking to my friends and telling them that I was going through this depression, and they were just like, Kwan, everybody's depressed. And it made me feel better. I'm like, oh wow, yeah, this is normal, you know? And you know, they say misery loves company, and that kept me going. I'm like, everybody's going through the same thing, you know, let's just stay positive and keep going, you know, bob and weave, and you know, the show must go on.
Well, several things. First of all, I had other things to do. As I said, I'm a writer and a painter. So those, the arts are a good way to lose yourself and forget about the bad stuff that's circling around you. The other thing was, other than the really sharp close down that everybody did for the first couple of months of the pandemic, Bacchus reopened as a to-go restaurant. And I was manned that shift most of the time. So it was kind of a nice excuse to be able to get out of the house, go sell some to-go pizza and pasta, and at least see a human being other than my dog. She's technically not a human being. And that helped a lot. So that's sort of, those three things sort of got me through it.
Relationships, the relationships that we value so much in our lives, and I'm talking even deeper than the people you just like hang out with and you know, have. I think in the restaurant industry, a lot of times it's easy to have very like surface level conversations. As a business owner, it's even more so, where it's like, hey, like good to see you, and like yeah, like you know customers by name and face, but when I think something that I always felt like I wanted more of is a deeper connection with an individual. Not that you could have that with everyone, but I think what kept me going throughout the pandemic was that ongoing opportunity and more of an opportunity to establish those deep connections with people in your life that maybe you never had a chance to do that with prior to the pandemic. So even with staff, like, not to say that we weren't close before the pandemic, but there was something about what happened throughout COVID where you really, really had to dig deeper and also make sacrifices on all ends for the other person. I had staff even come up to me and say that they would start volunteering their time. There were folks who felt like they were in a better financial position, so they were like, you can give my hours to this other employee. And I think those small interactions and really big gestures was what awakened me to this whole idea of community and what it means to sacrifice for one another and step up in times of need, because that's what I always imagined that's what insurance was meant to be too, initially, where it's like when someone needs it, that's when you pool your resources and give it to that person. And so I saw that on an really everyday basis with my individual family members, with my staff, we hold English classes as a part of our business model, and even English class students were asking how they could help and volunteer for our pantry package program, which we started at the beginning of the pandemic. And yeah, people were just stepping up. Customers, obviously, and supporters of Sunny's would be donating and tipping more than the amount of the food that they were ordering. And it makes a really big difference, not just because of the collective and congregate, the aggregate effect that the finances have, but really just a message that it sends to us. Like, we got little notes from people. Just the everyday gestures of kindness were so huge that kept us going, and that helped us want to reciprocate that the best that we could.
Honestly, it was my kids. They're like, they were my driving force. Because all you think about is like, I have these 2 kids to take care of. It's like, you get emotional talking about it, but you're like, what the fuck do I do? What the fuck do I do? I have mouths to feed, and I'm like, that's all I could think about. It's like, I gotta keep on going. I gotta make money, and I gotta take care of these boys.
I saw sunshine fade away. I miss mornings so long and lonely. Maybe I think I don't know. All these hearts stopping throughout the day. They didn't have a say. Light is shining all around. Headed out across this town. Felt so good to be outside. I knew I shouldn't have gone. 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 You wanna go again? I think I'm gonna go. Those were the best of days. I'll be okay, I don't know. All those eyes closing forever today. They didn't have a say. Light is shining all around. Headed out across this town. Felt so good to be alive. I knew I shouldn't have gone. I knew I shouldn't have gone. I knew I shouldn't have gone. I knew I shouldn't have gone.
So there's a lot of chat about, and a lot of memes and a lot of funny reels going around about service industry workers being really stressed out right now because it's very busy and we're understaffed, and you know, memes and reels and all the internet things are funny to watch and you get a good chuckle out of them. But I guess what I would like to say, and not from a pity-seeking standpoint, but just from a real standpoint, is, man, we are trying and we love what we do, and that is why we're still doing it. But we're in this really unique situation where we have this influx of people who want to come in for dinner and plan events and have big reservations and be there late and show up early, and I love that. But we're also dealing with this, we have only a few people that can work all the time or are able to work all the time, and as much as we're looking to hire, getting people in and training them up is very difficult because we're also working with this incredible volume of inquiries and requests and, you know, special days and big celebrations, and it is absolutely not at all that we don't want to do them or aren't interested in doing them. That's all we want to do, but we are definitely working through getting back up to like beefing up our staff and beefing up our whole operation so that we can provide that. So just, I guess patience and understanding would be so appreciated during this time. We've all had a real tough year going through, like, will we make it? Is it gonna happen? Will people ever come back inside? Just all these questions, all these kind of emotional feelings and uncertainties. And now we're here and we're so jazzed, but it's just a little tough, and we're getting there, and it's gonna be great, but we are definitely in a little bit of a tight spot. I think that kind of goes for across the boards with all of the service industry, whether it's a bar, a restaurant, a catering company, some, whatever it is, we're getting there. So hold your breath, it'll come soon, but we're definitely still kind of in like scramble mode, and we'll be there soon. So thanks for your patience.
I have two thoughts about what people should think about, speaking as a bartender and a server. First of all, they shouldn't use Grubhub. Everybody loves the restaurants they love. They love to go out at night and go to the same places that they loved before. And Grubhub and to-go services in general, I think, are a good way to drive your local restaurant out of business. And I don't think people realize the toll that these to-go organizations take on the small mom and pop restaurants that they service. And it's a predatory industry. They're not a very attractive organization. The other side of the coin is if you look at your average Grubhub bill, you spend a colossal amount more than the actual cost of the food when you have to the tip and the delivery and this and that. Wouldn't it be nice to go out, pick up your order to go from the place where you actually ordered it, and leave a huge tip for your server in lieu of service charges for Grubhub? That's my first answer. My second thought is I don't think a lot of people. I'm not equating being a server with being an ambulance driver or a doctor or a nurse. Those people were the heroes of the shutdown. But if you extend the definition of frontline workers, a lot of people went into restaurants, kept them open, served the public, to some degree at their own risk. Again, I'm not saying we're heroes, but I think that an acknowledgement, and again, it gets back to supporting your local restaurant. I think an acknowledgement should be made that a lot of people were manning restaurants and keeping them open at a time when perhaps they would have said to themselves, I would be safer if I was at home, but I'm going to do this instead.
I think COVID really changed our perception of how to be more kind to each other. I think compassion will be my only message to people who are not in this industry, because we really try. We're there to help you, to serve you, and not only kindness, but compassion is also necessary, especially right now, because we really need it. That's it.
Things are really looking up. I can actually walk around with a smile on my face, feeling like there's hope now, because the past month since everybody's gotten vaccinated, everybody's going out again, and everybody is like, it's like they opened up the gates and everybody's like, oh my God, we're returning back to normality. It's like, it's pretty cool. I mean, the bistro has really taken off, which is, it's good and bad, because now I'm like even more overworked, because before I was just kind of doing takeout, but now everybody's dining in again. So now I'm like juggling just walk-in diners and then handling Grubhub and then doing phone orders at the same time. So it's like a crazy juggling act because, you know, it's like people walk in the door and I just start getting anxiety. I'm like, shit, now I gotta serve. And I'm like taking care of them, and then I hear my Grubhub alert going ding, and I'm just like, oh God, you know, and it's like, yeah, talk about having anxiety and needing to drink more at the end of the day, you know, but it's good, you know, the bills are getting paid finally, so.
I mean, people seem to be going back to normal. When I go to other, I guess my staff tend to be a little bit more on the over safe side, which I extremely appreciate. I think one of the reasons why we even have our policies is so our staff feel comfortable working and being in our space. But I do see that we're getting more and more pushback with wearing masks inside the restaurant. So that's been kind of a problem where it's like, hey, like, just do what our staff asks. Like, that's my thing. But some people are like, but I'm vaccinated and the mask mandate has been lifted. Like, why are you making me wear a mask? And so we've been, finding that things are going back to normal, but maybe a little more quickly than we had anticipated. So we're just kind of like trying to catch up in that sense of meeting people halfway of like, here's our staff's comfort level, but here's what customers want. Like, how can we balance all of that out?
I'm excited. I'm really excited. We're getting busy, but I still see people that they're coming to us, to the restaurant saying like, we're so excited. This is our first day outside. I mean, meaning like in a public place after COVID, and we're so happy and blessed. And I think that's what I keep want to hear. I want to hear it more. That sense of, yes, now it is possible to go outside. It is possible to live a life again. So I'm really, really hopeful and grateful and happy, and I can wait to see people outside. Yes, because we need it.
Well, I think the outlook for me and sort of all my fellow servers is really good. I think the question is, if you're the organization you're with, the restaurant or the whatever, has survived to this point. I think we're starting to see, from personal anecdotal experience, we're starting to see more and more people coming out. The restrictions are now fully lifted in New York State. And people are coming out to eat and drink and make merry like they did, 2 years ago. And so I think for the restaurants that made it through, the outlook is rosy. The darker side to that equation is a lot of restaurants didn't make it through, and that's kind of a bummer.
Things are definitely looking up. We are getting things back open. It finally feels like, we have a real restaurant again. We've kind of watched a change happen really over the past couple of weeks, specifically where we went from being so much takeout to a little bit more dine-in, and a little bit more people would come, and maybe they still wanted to sit outside, or they only wanted to stay for coffee and they wanted to take their food to go. But now we have this opposite flip happening where we have most people who are really wanting to come in and sit at a table or to have a couple glasses of wine at the bar. And our takeout, we're still doing takeout, but it has definitely been a turn of the tables, which is really exciting, because while I have loved knowing all of my friends and all of my regulars were thinking of us and enjoying our takeout at home, it was honestly so just humbling to know how many people were like, yeah, no, we'll get takeout, that's great. Having people come back and not get takeout and want to come inside and eat inside is just, it's everything. It is everything.
Took everything I had for me to wake up. I'm thinking all of my life, what I cried push on. The picture I had drawn is still not complete. I can see you on your bed, wondering of what comes next. It took quite a bit of lift for me to believe.
hopeful.
I'll say quietly confident. I'm really eager to see what is in us, what has changed in us. And I know we're not the same anymore. And I think things are gonna look better in the future for all of us as a community, as in the neighborhood. So I'm ready. I'm ready for good days because we need them. Yes. So let's go for it. Yeah. That's what I need.
I guess a word that comes to mind is just like, I guess it's 2 words, maybe. But I'm thinking like, I see it being like very raw and grounded, in the sense that I think what the pandemic has done is, because it stripped away a lot of the frills, what you're left with is the things that are very foundational. Like you're left with the things that have a strong foundation, that invest into the right things. And not to say that any restaurant that didn't make it wasn't doing the right thing, but I think just because of the reevaluation and the pivoting that did happen, we're in a place of being stronger, of being more rooted, grounded, in more than just the outward things that people might see. And with that, like, it's both raw, because I think, struggle's gonna happen. Like, it's gonna be hard, and it's gonna, like, I see that in Troy, like, yeah, like, real estate's going up, and Troy, everyone says it's up on the rise, but, there's also gonna be some butting of heads, and I think any growth requires just that. It's gonna take some push and pull. It's gonna take, arguments. It's like any relationship, and I see that happening even amongst business owners, amongst, the city and other, different groups of people, and the old and the new. It's all, we're gonna have to work together, and be in that struggle together.
I feel electrified. It's one of those feelings where you are on a stage, maybe like right before a show happens, and there's this little buzz going on, and you can feel things are about to happen. We're right on the edge of getting back to where we were, and to the way things, to old life, as everyone's saying. And I think just that feeling of anticipation of things returning to normal at full capacity this summer is gonna be awesome. I can't wait. And I just can't wait to have, like I said, all of the people back in the restaurant, seeing all of your faces again back at the tables and at the bar, and just bopping in and bopping out. So I truly feel electrified, even on the days where, I feel like I couldn't have possibly gotten there any earlier, and I couldn't have possibly stayed any later because we're just trying to get everything done. I still come home feeling really just energized and excited for the return to normalcy for the restaurant industry.
Optimistic. I don't have a lot of doom and gloom now. Again, the idea is, I think the whole country's poised for a growing economy. The rising tide lifts all the boats. I think all the restaurants in Troy are going to see better times than they have for 2 years. My restaurant actually set an all-time weekly record just 2 weeks ago. And that's fairly astonishing if you think about it. And so I think optimistic is the right to be now. I think optimistic always with the pause to reflect that most people made it through, a lot of people didn't, and the world has changed. The U.S. has changed. Troy has changed. It's been a very sad, dark place that we've come through. And now that we're on the other side, hopefully, it's a time, I think, for celebration. So I'm optimistic.